Janeway encountered a fair bit of contestation during the first couple of years in the Delta Quadrant, in particular from members of the Maquis, who were frequently not too happy with her vision for survival. Later, faced with Chakotay's sting-in-the-tail opposition, with Seven's more direct "Captain, you are in error" moments, or Tuvok's well-intentioned but very Vulcan skepticism, Janeway stood her ground. The following command decisions may not have all been moral victories, the captain would be the first to admit, but they were the correct course of action in the moment, especially with a bunch of doubters in the background who she had to prove wrong. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for TrekCulture, and here are 10 times Captain Janeway was right and everyone else was wrong. Number 10. Rejecting villainy in the void. When Voyager is pulled into an area of subspace in the titular episode, the crew realise that the place is quite literally a void. There are no stars, no planets, and especially no deuterium. The only matter of any kind is the other ships that are unwittingly trapped there, and the competition for resources is hence ferocious and deadly. Even worse, being in the void is draining the warp core, and Voyager is immediately attacked. When it becomes clear that the ship's resources aren't going to last long in these circumstances, Chakotay and Tuvok, wondering if they should be more opportunistic whilst in the void, gang up on Captain Janeway. When they ask if the crew should be willing to die for their principles, Janeway delivers one of the best, most just ripostes of any captain, saying, "If the alternative means becoming thieves and killers ourselves, yes. We may lose a little weight, gentlemen, but we won't lose who we are." She proposes forming a sort of mini-federation, the Alliance, to share food, supplies, and relevant technologies with anyone willing to play by the rules. No stealing, no killing, and no giving up. Chakotay and Tuvok are immediately skeptical, and later Seven expresses her frustration before making a rapid about-turn with Phantome. In the end, Janeway is right, and her detractors are wrong. Despite the odd speed bump, the Alliance is such a success that all the ships within it escape the void with Voyager. Number 9. Keeping Seven on board. By the end of Scorpion Part 2, 7 of 9 has been disconnected from the Borg collective. When Chakotay goes to see Janeway in the holodeck, he asks incredulously, "You plan to keep her on board?" doubting that she will even want to stay. Janeway's reply is simple. They pulled the plug, so they are responsible for her now. Moreover, they can offer one thing the Borg can't: friendship. In the year or so that followed, Janeway and Seven were often at loggerheads. Seven more than once openly contradicted Janeway, and even disobeyed direct orders. Under the influence of a Borg homing signal, she fled Voyager before being rescued, and she may have jumped ship of her own free will had the Dauntless not proven to be a hoax. Seven was an unknown risk for the crew, and B'Elanna definitely took a while to warm to her. At each stage, however, and often despite her own frustrations, Janeway supported, protected, and nurtured Seven in her development as an individual. Janeway's decision to keep her on board was proven right. Seven became a vital member of the crew, a friend to all, a mentor for Naomi, a lover to Chakotay, and later a partner to Raffi, and essential to Picard's mission. And even B'Elanna came around eventually. And speaking of B'Elanna, number 8, trusting Torres. Things could have turned out very differently between the two crews, Maquis and Starfleet, in the Delta Quadrant. There was nothing other than a common set of circumstances to suggest that these diametrically opposed groups could and would integrate as they did. In the beginning, Captain Janeway equally had little reason to trust the hot-headed Torres, and the feeling was mutual. There were also a few who would have been right to expect a promotion or two over the newcomer. Hello, Harry. Let us not forget that it was around this time that Tuvok created his training holoprogram depicting a Maquis insurrection on board Voyager. When Janeway did promote Torres to the role of chief engineer, somewhat against her own instincts and against expected protocol, she was right to do so. Chakotay, as a former Starfleet lieutenant commander, was the obvious choice for first officer. But the nomination of an academy dropout with a troubled past to a key post was a symbolic act. It showed that Janeway was willing to place her faith in and work with the diversity of backgrounds within the Maquis. After a bit of a learning curve, Torres, in her position as chief engineer, would contribute more than most to the successful merging of the crews. Evident from the start, her expertise would continue to prove Janeway right throughout as a crucial factor in saving the ship on numerous occasions. Number 7. Refusing to share technology with the Kazon. In the first 2 years of its journey home, Voyager was under near constant attack by the Kazon. The Kazon's technology was vastly inferior to that of Voyager, but they were much greater in numbers. By the time of the events of the episode Alliances, Voyager was almost permanently disabled by a Kazon onslaught, and members of the crew, Marquis in particular, became extremely vocal in their views on sharing technology. Basically, just give them what they want. Janeway categorically refused any notion of an exchange of technology. This would be a flagrant violation of the Prime Directive, radically altering the balance of power in the region. The crew had also seen the devastating effects their technology could have if misused, when Cardassian spy Seska leaked replicator plans and equipment to the Kazon. Janeway is nonetheless strong-armed against her better judgment into trying to form an alliance. First with one of the Kazon sects, and then with all of them in peace talks with the Trabe. Turns out, however, that the captain's instincts were right. The Trabe attempt to massacre the first Mages present at the talks. Using Voyager as a bargaining point to obtain increased stability in the region has only led to more conflict. On this occasion, Janeway should have trusted her own judgment throughout, and not the misplaced suggestions of a good number of the crew. Number 6. Stopping the Equinox, whatever the cost. This one is going to prove extremely controversial, and Captain Janeway didn't entirely agree with herself by the end of the whole saga. When Voyager encountered the USS Equinox, it was under attack by a race of interdimensional aliens. At first, the two crews play happy reunions. It is soon discovered that Captain Ransom, though, and his cronies have been capturing and killing the nucleogenic lifeforms to power their ship and improve their warp factor. Janeway is rightfully appalled and locks them up. They escape back to their ship, leaving Voyager defenseless against the aliens in the process. When Janeway decides to go after the Equinox rather than focusing on Voyager, Chakotay accuses her of pursuing a vendetta. Must a woman always be seeking revenge and not simply seeking justice? Just saying. Eventually, Janeway relieves him of duty and later threatens to do the same to Tuvok. It is true that Janeway takes some arguably reckless risks and plays fast and loose with a few moral boundaries, despite her crew's protestations. But she is right to go after Ransom, and hang the consequences. Ransom is a Starfleet officer, and he has been committing mass murder to get his crew home. If Janeway hadn't stopped him in his tracks, there would have been no other relevant authority to do so within thousands of light years. Number 5. Leaving that damn nebula. Technically speaking, the events of this entry happened and also never happened. They are nonetheless a fine example of a win for the captain when those around her were dubious. In the two-parter Year of Hell, Voyager is under near constant attack by the Krenim, who seem intent on proving they do have something big in their torpedo tubes. The damage gets so bad that most of the crew are forced to abandon ship and go it alone until Voyager can meet up with them again. By the start of the second episode, Voyager has taken refuge inside a nebula, but it is proving more trouble than it's worth. Janeway makes the executive decision that we're leaving this damn cloud first thing tomorrow morning. The look on Kim, Torres, and the Doctor's faces tells us that they are skeptical, but they say nothing as she's the captain. With no such inhibitions though, Seven bluntly states, "You are in error." Tuvok, even though he disagrees with disagreeing, clearly thinks the decision is the wrong one too. If they had waited in the nebula for weeks on end, it's unlikely that they would have amassed enough allies with whom to share their temporal shield technology before Anarax could alter the timeline. They also may have missed the message sent by captured Paris. Ultimately, leaving the nebula when they did was crucial to destroying the timeship. Janeway's decision was so right, including taking the temporal shields offline at the last moment, that everyone got a do-over as the timeline was restored. Number 4. Hedging her bets on Kashyyyk. In the episode Counterpoint, Voyager must traverse a region of space controlled by the Devore Imperium, an alien civilization that outlaws telepaths. To save the telepathic members of her own crew and a group of refugees they have rescued, Captain Janeway must play a careful game of wits with Devore inspectors. Whilst Janeway certainly gets no opposition from her shipmates, she must still prove herself right against an entire authoritarian government, and particularly against lead inspector Kashyyyk. Janeway's success lies in playing note against note with Kashyyyk. Each are performing a piece of deception. The latter defects to Voyager but is really only there to capture the telepaths. The former does not know Kashyyyk's true intentions, so adeptly plays both melody and counter-melody to their resolution. It's no coincidence that the music which bookends the episode is the second movement of Mahler's First Symphony. The piece is written in the form of a Ländler, a popular folk dance that preceded the more sophisticated Viennese waltz. At the start of the episode, it is Kashyyyk's choice of music as his team are ransacking Voyager, and he is boasting about his knowledge of Earth culture. At the end, Janeway is victorious over the Devore. She has ensured the safety of the telepathic refugees, whatever Kashyyyk's motives. She switches the music back to Mahler as if to mock him for his civilized facade, and to let him know that she has outdanced him. Number 3, flying the ship through a binary pulsar. She may have been driven to the edge by alien experiments, but she's a badass nonetheless. In the episode's scientific method, Voyager's crew are experimented upon by a group of aliens who are using microscopic tags to inflict ever more severe genetic mutations. When the plan to disable the tags fails, and a Voyager crew member dies horrendously on the bridge, Captain Janeway is pushed to breaking point and flies the ship between a binary pulsar. Not only is this one hell of an epic scene, but Janeway is proven right to the likes of Tuvok, Kim, and the aliens themselves, one of whom materializes on the bridge in an attempt to stop the captain. Tuvok, after suggesting a course change to avoid the pulsars, comments that this is a far more reckless course of action than he has come to expect. Kim suggests diverting all remaining power to shields when things get really sticky. The aliens' interventions come to naught as Janeway has locked in the ship's course with her access codes, and neither can the aliens kill everyone because the work of the entire crew will be needed to get through the star's gravity. With a decisive speech, "You are not in control here anymore," Janeway vanquishes the aliens, transfers all remaining power to the engines, and leaves the pulsars in the dust. If she'd listened to anyone else, Voyager might still be a flying laboratory. Or worse, the third wheel of a binary system. Number 2, keeping exploration going after the Mars attack. The final episode of Star Trek Prodigy's second season saw the events of the Mars attack begin to unfold. Admiral Jellicoe delivers the news that Starfleet Command has been asked to scale back operations and cease all exploration to focus on protecting our own planetary citizens. To which Janeway astutely objects. She puts forward the important question of, what about Starfleet's mission of peace across the galaxy? What remains if the Federation stops seeking new worlds, refuses to help those in need? Well, we need look no further than the events of Picard Season 1 to see exactly what would remain and exactly why Janeway was right to object. Take the death of Thad Troy Riker, for example. The only known treatment for his illness required cells from a positronic matrix. But with the Federation's ban on synthetic life forms, there was no way to save his life. But who's to say that if further exploration of new worlds was allowed, an alternative treatment couldn't have been found? But with this scaled-back approach, there was nothing that could be done for poor Thad. As for the result of refusing to help those in need, the devastation and chaos following the Romulan supernova was extreme, and could have been massively reduced had the Federation remained to aid in evacuation and rehabilitation. Their inaction led to crime, poverty, and plenty of resentment, most notably from Nero, who caused all sorts of temporal problems as a result of his blame. Janeway was right to send the Prodigy hopefuls out into the galaxy to continue upholding the true principles of the Federation. And although we haven't had a chance to see what they achieved in a third season, I like to think that they made a huge difference. Janeway put it best: in a time when the Federation's borders are receding, it's of utmost importance you are a beacon of light to those beyond our reach, to seek out allies and aid those left behind. Number 1, taking responsibility for Moset. In the episode Nothing Human, the Doctor creates a hologram to aid him in removing a parasitic alien from B'Elanna Torres. When it is learnt that the program is based on a Cardassian war criminal who tortured Bajorans for his own medical experiments, the crew are justifiably up in arms. Torres herself refuses any treatment that would come from Moset, and a fierce ethical debate ensues. Now, we can't simply descend into the Manichaeisms of right and wrong concerning the morality behind the use of hologram Moset in saving B'Elanna's life. That situation is far too nuanced for such a dichotomy. What we can discuss in similar terms is whether Captain Janeway, as leader, was correct to make a choice to use him or not. After hearing the arguments, Janeway does decide to use Moset, as her only concern there and then is the well-being of her crew member. They will wrestle with the morality of the situation after B'Elanna has recovered. She clearly states that any consequences of this decision will be my responsibility. Later, when B'Elanna tells Janeway, "You had no right to make that decision for me," the latter replies, "I'm the captain. You're my crewman. I did what I thought best." The point here is that Janeway was right, and well within her rights to make the decision. There is no hard moral line in this case, only the choice to act or not to act and accept the consequences.
Hi, I'm Duncan Relic, no relation, and I collect relics from before the burn. Thanks to a temporal wormhole, I now have an unlimited supply of TrekCulture t-shirts, and I'm selling them to you! You could be wearing this stylish down and up t-shirt. Or, how about this fish watching design? Bright yellow on black, the colors I'd use in thumbnails, I tell you that for nothing. I plan to take these designs and transfer them via quantum duplication onto hats, mugs, and posters. So look out for those. Ah! Treat this unlimited supply as a limited time deal. Get your t-shirt quick. Who's your daddy?
And that concludes our list, but I'm sure there are plenty of other examples of times when Janeway was right and everyone else was wrong. So if you think we missed one, then do let me know in the comments down below, and maybe we'll do a part 2. Who knows? Make sure you head over to the various social media sites and follow us there. I've been Ellie for TrekCulture. I hope you have a wonderful day, and remember to boldly go where no one has gone before.